Well, hello everybody. We're going to try something a little bit different with giving some information to all of our staff members, all these staff members that we normally would give at a faculty meeting. So we're asking you to watch this, and hopefully we can get this done fairly expeditiously. But there are a number of things we want to make sure that we talk about as we begin the year together. I'm going to talk about discipline issues. Bob is going to talk about parking and activities program. Chris McCabe is going to talk about attendance and a couple other items, and Lisa Fletcher is going to talk about IDs and dress code. Where I wanted to start is talking about hazing and bullying, and we do have this in the handbook, and hopefully you will take the time to read through certain portions of the handbook to make sure that you have the accurate understanding and definition for these things. Hazing and bullying, obviously, an extremely important issue that we need to address always in a very expeditious manner. To define it, the proper way to think about it is that hazing is an activity that can happen on or off school grounds at any time related to the school, and that it has a negative impact mentally or on physical health or the safety of the student. It ridicules, it humiliates, it's disconcerting for the students, and it causes anybody to have an issue with regard to relationships with other people in a positive way in the school environment. If you have any knowledge of any student that is a victim of hazing, and you're not sure that it truly is hazing, make sure that you let a counselor or one of us in the office know so that we can investigate it. I'd rather err on the side of caution with this, because we don't want anybody to walk through the day feeling like they have to avoid somebody or avoid a group of people because they're treating them in an ill manner. We also have an anti-bullying form that you can use for hazing as well, and that you should be able to see as I'm talking. The bullying definition is defined as a repeated and systematic intimidation or harassment of a student or multiple students perpetuated by an individual or individuals or groups. It includes but not limited to physical actions, including violence, gestures, theft, damaging property, or written taunts, including name-calling, putting people down. So again, these two are somewhat related in terms of definition, but make certain that if you are aware of any type of hazing or bullying activity, that you let us know right away, and we will obviously deal with it as expeditiously as we can. The other acts that I want to talk about are assaults, fighting, threats, and weapons. In terms of fighting, the most important thing to remember with that, fortunately, at least so far, and I hope we can maintain this as a culture of our school, that fighting is not the way we solve our issues and problems. But it's defined also as a mutual combat in which both parties have contributed to the physical action. First offense is a 3 to 5 day suspension, second offense 5 to 10, third offense 1 to 180. Depending upon the severity of the action, it can go up to 180-day suspension. That has happened before, depending on the situation. And also, the thing to remember, and we'll stress this with the students when we talk to them at the beginning of the year, that we file charges on people involved in these things. In terms of a fight, whether it's mutual combat, it's considered an affray by the law. If it is assault, then that's a different matter than a fight, because assault is a one-way action. That's where a student attacks another student and it does so in a one-way kind of situation. So the thing to remember about assault is that it's a physical force of hitting, striking, obviously, and it could be an assault with a weapon or an assault with body, and there are kind of two degrees to this. One is if it's using physical force and it's a one-way kind of fight, if you will, then it's going to be anything from everything from a conference in the office and detention all the way up to a 180-day suspension out of school could be the consequence, and again, law enforcement applied to this situation. The severe aspect of assault is when someone knowingly causes and truly tries to create bodily harm to injure somebody, and that could fall into first or second degree assault. Then that first offense would be an expulsion from school, and that would be a situation where someone came up and deliberately hit someone with the knowledge and the desire to truly hurt somebody. So again, that would carry with it very severe school consequence, obviously the most severe, as well as filing charges. Threats kind of falls in a similar category, depends upon how severe it is, but when people use threatening comments toward other people and it causes someone to either fear for their life or fear that someone is going to do them bodily harm, then again, the consequences will range from meeting with them, one of the principals meeting with them, all the way up to suspension and possibly even expulsion, depending upon the nature of the threat and the intent of the threat, and whether it's verbal, written, pictorial, some sort of symbolic type of thing that someone does, leaves a note in a locker or that sort of thing. All those are factors that apply to the reasoning we have to use in our investigation to determine what level of threat this is. So again, first offense could be anything from a conference with a student all the way up to 180-day out-of-school suspension. Weapons, if a student were to bring a weapon onto campus, and under this would fall anything from a knife to obviously to a gun and that sort of thing. But the knife situation, for example, depends on how big the knife is. If it's a little pocket knife, that could be taking the knife away and suspending the kid for an in-school suspension of up to 10 days. If it's something more than that, there's a legal criteria for a knife that's illegal, and the heft of the knife would have to be 4 inches long, I believe, and that again would be turned over to the police, and they would enact the charges and file charges with the student, and then there would be a school consequence of suspension as well. And again, weapons, depends upon what it is, can range from an in-school suspension of a few days or a day or two even, all the way up to expulsion, depending upon the severity of that. Those are the major violent act types of discipline issues that we deal with or could deal with. Hopefully we'll not be dealing with any of those this year. So far, as we've opened up north, we've had very few instances of that, and hopefully we can maintain that as we grow and double in size. The other category I want to talk about is drug and alcohol and tobacco use. Tobacco does not carry the same severity that alcohol and drug use carries. First offense for tobacco is a short-term in-school suspension for use or possession, but that can range. If it's repeated, then it can obviously end in expulsion if the student does not change their habit in that regard. Drugs and alcohol, first offense is typically now a 45-day in-school suspension. With the long-term in-school suspension program, we're able to keep kids actively involved in their academic work, but separate them from the social life of school. And so if they're involved in drugs or alcohol, its first offense is going to be 45 days if it's alcohol possession, use, and then for drugs, it'll be a 90-day suspension, and then if it's distribution, and then it's 180 days. If it's distribution, sale, it could be an expulsion. depending upon severity of that. And all these things also carry with it legal charges can be filed and are filed if it has anything to do with drugs or alcohol. We always file charges in those situations. The other thing that we try to do with drug and alcohol use is that during the long-term suspension time, we oftentimes segue them from working with you all as a classroom teacher and sending them work to do to an online learning program. So they may change from a world history class with Mrs. Harold to an online world history class. And we try to do that as much as we can. The area we don't do it as much is in mathematics, because that's very difficult to do an online course in mathematics. But they still, at this point, would be going to the enrollment center, and that's where the long-term suspension program is, and they'll be getting their materials there and shifting into an online learning situation. The other thing that we attach to it is working with drug counselors. They'll work either with Amy Tussaud, or they'll work with somebody from Northland Dependency and meet with them once a week. And if they're showing growth in that regard, then sometimes we do cut back a little bit on the length of their suspension if they are truly serious about changing their habit and way of thinking about use of alcohol or drugs. The purpose of the practice or the action of the policy, the consequences now, is to try to keep the kid working academically toward the end of graduation, if we can keep them in school, and secondly, honestly and truly moving away from the use of this stuff. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's going to be always our goal to make sure that happens. If you are aware of any issue going on with this sort of thing, or have any suspicion at all about someone having something, or maybe interacting with other kids about having a transaction of such, make sure you're letting us know right away. Don't dismiss those types of rumors, or don't dismiss those types of even intuitions that you might have. Let us know that you have any knowledge or any suspicion of anything regarding that, so that we can validate it one way or the other. That's very important, and that's what also keeps our school a safe place. The other area I want to talk about is the use of technology in an inappropriate way, and the use of the cell phone to send, or even now the computer to send sexually explicit messages, vulgar messages, is obviously happening a lot more with technology. That doesn't change people's views about how to communicate this sort of thing. So again, we need to be aware that if someone is sending a sexually explicit message via any of our technologies, whether it's a cell phone or a school-issued laptop or a laptop that a student might have, we need to know about those things right away. And again, the first offense and second offense will range from confiscation of the item to as far as expulsion, depending upon the nature of the situation and what it causes. Severity of the consequence may also relate to what is the result of that message. So let's say a young person has been sexually assaulted in his or her life and are dealing with that, and then they get a sexually explicit, vulgar message through technological means, and it has a recalling effect, an impact on them of recalling and living back through the trauma of the other event, then the consequences might even be more severe than another situation. Those are judgments we have to make as we look at what is the consequence that fits this crime, so to speak. And we do have a range of things in our policy to use, and we try to, again, always use it at an appropriate level. The other factor that can be involved in sexting is turning this over to legal authorities as well for their review and determine if it's a violation of law. The other areas is sexual harassment, and we're pretty clear in policy and in practice that any comment or any use of technology or in a written or verbal form of any statements that have to do with putting someone down or harassing someone in a sexual manner. And these are things such as racial jokes or comments, requests for sexual favors, and any other unwelcome sexual advances like graffiti, name-calling, threatening, intimidating. All these things are absolutely inappropriate, obviously, and we look at these things in a very harsh light and take hard action on these things. So again, make sure that if you're aware of any of these things going on, that you have let us know, or you make sure the student comes to see us so that we can deal with it. By and large, I think our student body does a pretty good job of informing on this. It's how we keep a free and democratic society if people will share information about these things, so we can resolve issues between people. And again, those consequences can range from a short-term in-school suspension to a 180-day out-of-school suspension or expulsion, depending upon the severity of the issue, and legal consequences filed on them as well. Those are the main disciplinary issues that I have talked about. Now I'm going to turn this over to Bob to talk to us about parking and the activities program.
Welcome back, staff. Hope everybody had a great summer, and I get to talk about parking and then our activities program. Our parking is a privilege, not a right, for our students, and we make sure that our students take care of their responsibilities for parking in order for them to drive and park on our campus. They have to fill out a form, they have to have a legal driver's license, and they also have proof of insurance. Plus, it costs them $60 for the year, or $30 a semester, prorated based on their capabilities. Sophomores can park as well as juniors and seniors. We want our students to drive on campus and off of campus, follow all the speed limits, and drive in a civil and safe way throughout the neighborhoods and all that. So please make sure to tell us if you notice students doing things they shouldn't do, and when they're in the parking lot or if they're parking in the staff areas, let us know. Don't assume that we saw it, but make sure that we are aware of that so we can deal with that. Students can lose their parking privileges by being tardy, too many tardies, too many absences, other discipline issues that go on through the school day, because that's valuable to them, and if something like that is possible to take away, that can change their behavior, and that's something we want to do. I also like to point out that with our increased enrollment and attendance this year, we need to make sure that we start to pay attention more closely to parking. We've had spacious parking, and that's going to fill up, but we have plenty of parking for all our students that are capable of parking this year. So I know there'll be some questions from some sophomores that are worried that there aren't going to be any spots by the time they drive. There will be spots available. But make sure that if you are a staff member and you're parking on the gravel drive that goes by the practice field, that we park on the right side only, and that's the side opposites the learning villas out there. Make sure you stay along there and park along that side. Don't double park on both sides of the gravel lot. That way we can get a good pass through there. We got mowers that need to go there and utility workers and things like that. Also on Eagle Drive, we don't want students parking on Eagle Drive for practices or anything. After school, nothing. One side of that is red line from A Highway all the way to 104th Street. So there is no parking on that side. The other side is not lined, but we'd rather keep that whole access road wide open. So after school, students that are practicing football or soccer over there, make sure that they're just staying in the parking lots and parking there, as well as coaches. Some of our parents like to sit there and watch practices or wait to pick up their students. Please encourage them to stay further back, because that's a big in and out area for us, and we really have to take care of that. The other thing I'd like to talk to you about is activities program. Our activity program has grown every year since we've opened, just with our student body. The number of participants and the percent involved. Last year we had 90% of our students involved in a MISHA activity or a club or a organization in one way or the other with Liberty North. That is great, and we want to continue that. With more students in the building means more students to be involved, means more students to be at events, and we want to continue that growth. With that, we also have our coaches that are involved with those activities and sponsors that want to make sure that those kids are doing what they need to be doing in the classroom as well. Do not hesitate to let a coach or a sponsor know that if those kids are not doing things in your classroom that you want them to do, make sure the coach knows, and they'll help you on that way too. They'll be glad to step up and help you from their side of it to get the classroom side taken care of. We've had great crowd support. We have a civil crowd. We have a respectful crowd that we have for every one of our home games, and we want to continue that. One thing that is missing, that needs to improve, is you at the games. We want you there. Kids love to see their teachers at events, whether it's a game, it's the play, it's a musical, or anything on. They love to see you there, and they love to say, hey, were you there Friday night? Hey, did you see me Thursday night? They love to see that, and we'd love to see you there. So being there, saying good job the next day in class, they love that, and that fosters a great environment around here. So we want that to continue. It also helps with our crowds, with our faculty there in presence. Those kids love to have a great time, and they can do it in, again, a civil and respectful way, which is what we want to do. And that's all I have for activities and parking.
Very good. Now we're going to turn it over to Chris and Lisa.
Hi folks, thanks. Chris McCabe, Lisa Fletcher. I'm here to talk about a couple things, one of which being attendance. We've been fortunate here where we've had very high attendance percentages at North. Our students want to be here. We've got a great staff that works hard for them. With that in mind, I want to get some things to you that we need your help with. First of all, the accountability piece from you is to make sure that you're taking attendance. Accurate hourly attendance has to be taken in your room through Power School. We have to be able to track these students, whether it's appointments, whether it's for office use as far as pulling them out of class, whatever the case is, we need to be able to track these students, and accurate hourly attendance is a must. By the time the student gets to third or fourth hour, we should have a pretty good idea from the first, second, and third hours of the day whether or not the student's there. We need your help with that. It's something that we have to remind staff of quite a bit, so it's my encouragement to you right now to make sure that you're doing that hourly to help with that. We as a school have an accountability piece with that. It's important for us. Like I said, tracking them. There's a school funding piece that's tied to it that we report to central office, who reports to the state, so it's a vital part of what we do. There's a parent accountability piece too. Our parents are connected with Power School, so quite often they're online, and I've had parents call me directly and say, my kid is unverified for third hour, why haven't I got a call? So make sure that as we're taking it, it's accurate for our sake in the office, but then also so that parents can track as well. There needs to be a limit, or there is a limit on the hourly absences that students can have before they're denied credit. There's an appeal for credit process that any time a student misses 11 or more class periods in your class, they have to appeal for credit. Once that goes into play, they're subject to being denied credit for the course. So even though they were in your class 87 times first semester, if they would have missed 11 or more and earned the grade of a C because of seat time and different things, if they don't have proper documentation, they're subject to being denied credit. We have denied credit in the past, and barring different circumstances, we will again. With that in mind, though, we need your help. We need accurate attendance, we need hourly attendance taken so that these things can go through the proper channels. In addition to that, make sure that our freshmen and sophomore students whose attendance is being taken on, any irregularities in any student's behavior, but especially our freshmen, sophomores, and some of our juniors who are under 17 years of age, they have a civil responsibility. They can be prosecuted through juvenile if they do not report to school. And so it is vital that attendance is taken on those students, and we follow through with that. If you've taken attendance, a student arrives late, please change that. If you get caught up and you realize 2 hours down the way, please go back and change it, or email Nikki Trester, who is our attendance secretary, who does a good job. With that, Nikki will communicate with you guys often via email. You'll chuckle and you'll think, why is she sending me an email about if this kid's in class or not? Well, the reason is because we have irregularities. So as we go through, we'd look and maybe the kid would be absent third hour, but no other point they're absent. So we're trying to verify if it's a cut of class or what the case may be. Please respond to her emails. Please have a dialogue and communication open with her so that you can make sure that you're communicating the necessary information that eventually gets back to the office. Tardies, I'll talk about tardies real quick. Consequences this year are going to be assigned within Eagle Hour. So students who will be disciplined, Eagle Hour privileges and some time in Eagle Hour will be taken away. Again, this is a power school issue, so make sure that you're tracking tardiness. Students who are chronically tardy, 20, 30 minutes of class, you need to notify the office, myself or Ms. Fletcher, and we would follow up with them to verify the circumstances of that. Last thing, once the school day is started, any student arriving or leaving our campus needs to be instructed and must sign out with our security office in the front of the building. This is a tracking issue, this is a management issue, and a time issue as far as how we record it in the system. They're not to just leave your classroom and exit to their car. There might be something that they need to check out or pick up from the office, so make sure that they do that through the office. If they come in late, they will arrive with a pass from the office that will get them to class. We need your help, but it shouldn't be an extra burden for you. It is just part of the everyday responsibility. Make sure that you're taking accurate hourly attendance. Any questions, any concerns that you have about it, direct them to me. I would be glad to help you with it. Any power school issues or any scheduling issues, again, direct them to me and I will help you with it. But it's a really important piece that we need to make sure that our school runs as well as it has and as well as it can and as well as it will this year.
Hi, I'm Lisa, and I'm going to actually talk about student ID cards and student dress code. Every student will be given a student ID card. They are expected to wear them on a lanyard or at least be able to present it to you when you ask for it. There's multi-purposes to having our students wear their student ID cards. One of the reasons is obviously for security purposes. Another reason would be that it serves as their student activity pass for any kind of events that they attend. But more importantly, we are going to utilize them during our Eagle Hour this year, and Aaron Peters will discuss that at some point with you. Replacement cost for the student ID cards is going to be $7, and it does, like I said before, serve as an activity pass. Inclusive of the ID card, it will be $37. So that will be the piece. We are going to hold them accountable for not having it during Eagle Hour, and again, Aaron will talk about that. Student dress code, that's always been an interesting topic to discuss with teachers. We do encourage student expression, obviously, and that's recognized as being important by our school board as well. But we do have to have a balance between student health and safety and student expression, and we are going to make sure that is maintained this year. Chris and I are going to work hard at that. But we are asking that you partner up with us in order to make sure that this does take place, that the basic dress and grooming follows our handbook guidelines. First of all, and I'm only going to touch on a few of the items that are probably the biggest concerns, and obviously anything that promotes drugs, alcohol, obscenities or profanities, that's going to definitely be not permitted. Any print or image that's derogatory or disrespectful to any ethnic group or racial group, obviously again is going to be prohibited. Ball caps. Students are not permitted to wear ball caps, head coverings, or sunglasses unless they have permission from administration, and we may have a situation or two like that. So please check with us if there is such a situation. Skin, don't want to see it. Bare midriffs, inappropriate tank tops, and strapless tops are not to be worn. For boys, manufactured tight armholes on the tank tops we are going to permit this year. What we are not going to permit are the homemade, home-cut big armholes. Those are not okay. In addition to that, the basketball jersey type are not going to be permitted. Shorty shorts, worn by girls and hopefully not boys, are not to be worn. Ladies are not permitted to show cleavage. We would like to see that covered up. And I'd be more than happy to support you guys in addressing some of these issues. For safety reasons, if you feel that a student needs to pull their hair back, or if their clothing, their attire might be a safety concern in an activity, please do address that. And if it becomes a repeated issue, definitely send them to us and we'll take care of that for you. My request, and I'm sure Chris is on board with this, is that you have a private conversation, a private civil conversation with a child in the hallway. Addressing that dress issue is probably the best way to handle it. If that doesn't take care of it, send them to us. We'll take care of it for you. We would like some kind of documentation in the form of an email to let us know that there has been an issue, so we can also track that. That's all I have.
Okay. Last thing that we will talk about, and any questions over any of the things that we've covered, please direct them to us, email us, come and see us when you all return. We'd be happy in case there's any confusion to clear these things up. But the last thing that I'll talk about is the reputation of our school and kind of the culture that the school has had the previous years the last 3 years. You know, we're in a small amount of time, we've been able to accomplish a large amount of things, from activities to athletics, our academic achievement, our ACT scores, our EOC scores, our attendance rate is one of the highest in the state. We've graduated 2 classes, 95%. Our numbers statistically show us to be a high-achieving, high-performing school. But one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, is the people that we have inside the building, and that's our teachers and our students. The people are making a difference, they're making an effort, and that's you all as teachers, and that's the students who are inside. The intentional effort that is made by you on a daily basis is what separates us. There's nothing too big or nothing too small that as a staff you haven't been and hopefully aren't willing to do to help a student, to help each other. Whatever the case is, our school and our culture have always been that we will do it well, and if needed, we'll go above and beyond to help. We've created this identity over the past 3 years on our own. We've done it with the help of each other. We've done it with the help of our students. But we don't need to be measured by other schools. We don't need to be measured of what other people do. We need to be focused on what we do on a daily basis. How we treat our students, how we treat each other is so vitally important to this. And you know, you guys deserve as teachers so much credit for it because you're what the students see. You know, it's a representation of your class, it's a representation of our school and how our students act. Bob talked about the civil way our students act at all of our events. And then we've talked about the scores that we've achieved, or I've talked about that, our attendance rate. All these things are reflections of you. So as we have, focus on being the best that we can at what's in front of us every single day when you come in here. Undoubtedly, there's things that are going on with your classes, with yourself, that can detract from that. And undoubtedly, there'll be things with the students that will detract from their ability to give their best effort. But for a lot of us, maybe we're in education because of someone who's inspired us. Maybe we do this because of what someone has done for us. And we just ask that although some of the tasks may be daunting and the building looks different and the way it's structured with the villas and with the amount of students, that doesn't mean that we need to change. Our focus and our effort and our attention and being intentional to these students and to each other is so vitally important to that. Focus on taking care of each other. Take care of each other, take care of our students. Nothing's too small, nothing's too big. We've talked about that. And then be intentional with your actions. Make sure that the things that you're saying, make sure the things that you're doing are a representation that you would want our students to see. And we will certainly have the success that we've had in the past. And with hope, with good things that go on in the work that we do, hopefully our success will increase. As we've said, if there's anything that you all have, any questions, any feedback that you'd like to give, please let us know. We're here to help you, support you, work with you to make sure that our students have the best time that they can. We've graduated 2 really good classes, and we've got another one that's going to be excited with the freshmen coming in as well. Certainly a different thing, but the goals and the things that we do every day don't need to change, and we're excited for the school year to get started.
Absolutely. Thank you.